There is one major takeaway from the Cleveland Browns' loss yesterday in Los Angeles, and it's simple, friends. Joe Flacco needs to be the Browns quarterback for the final remaining games of the regular season. Your latest Locked On Browns starts now.
You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends, your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound, LGB, and the LOB, the Locked On Browns podcast, brought to the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Your host, Jeff Lloyd, and I appreciate all of you who make Locked On Browns your first listen every single day. And if you ain't part of the everyday crowd yet, we'll get on the Buzzcast and subscribe to the Locked On Browns YouTube channel. And of course, Locked On Browns is always available, always free, wherever you get your podcasts. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Again, as I said in the opening, you guys see the rundown here for today. Obviously, a quiet day in Berea. What we know is DTR still in the concussion protocol. Obviously, Amari Cooper. Coach Stefanski did not commit to a quarterback yet for Sunday, but I think he's probably not going to commit to a quarterback until Friday. Play the dalliance, play the game for as much as you can. Of course, none of it means anything if DTR does not return to practice. They're certainly not going to start PJ Walker. We all know that. But what we learned yesterday is that Joe Flacco, at almost 39 years old, Joe's going to turn 39 in January. There is still a lot left in that right arm. Special arm talent. And, you saw guys, the Harrison Bryant completion that went for 20-something yards, some of the balls to Elijah Moore. And look, there's been drops. And obviously that's, been an issue the last couple of weeks. I'm not defending anybody for yesterday. As far as drops, look, they're inexcusable. But Joe, the little special sauce on Joe's ball. And this is probably some velocity these guys haven't seen, and DTR has got it. But they're really haven't run a lot where he's just gripping and ripping, and it's understandable, he's a kid. But Joe, there is some heat coming off these puppies. So these guys are going to have to get ready to deal with Joe Flacco here. Granted, they did not win the game, and we all obviously know how that outcome of the game turned out. But just some things from yesterday, and I forget who this was, and I apologize. But the Browns' offense yesterday compared to weeks prior, 240 yards net passing, second highest on the season, Joe Flacco's first start. 43% on third down, 11 points higher than their season average. Again, Joe Flacco's first start. 4.7 yards per play, 2 yards higher than their season average. Again, Joe Flacco's first start. Now, you keep in mind, Joe got a little work in for the week of the Denver game. Obviously, most likely last week, everything was tilted in LA towards Joe Flacco progressing to make this first start for the Browns in Los Angeles against the Rams. First drive came out cooking. Look, you saw things yesterday from Joe Flacco as far as throwing the ball vertically. And everybody who knows me, I love Coach Stefanski. Have zero issues with Coach Stefanski. But you can name the quarterback, and it's been a bunch of them, obviously, during the tenure here with Coach Stefanski. And one of my problems has always been with this offense is they can't find a way to get the ball vertically down the field. It's been an issue, whether it was Baker, whether it was Case Keenum, certainly this whole Deshaun, Jacoby Brissett, of course, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, PJ Walker, but Joe Flacco, you got to see some of it yesterday. And it just makes things so much easier. I mean, when you have to try and go 10, 11, 12 plays to get points each and every drive that turn into a scoring drive, it is a really, really difficult way to play football. Joe, that arm strength is there. That velocity is there. The interception yesterday, obviously very, very poor ball on his part. And there were a couple of those where, Joe thought he had it, thought about it for a second, and then fired it. And, one, Amari Cooper, it was the out. Amari bailed him out on a nice catch. The one, obviously, that turned into the interception. John Johnson, the third. Shut up, bro. You know what I'm saying? Look, and the Browns were always just as guilty for everything that went on with John Johnson the third. They tried to make him a player he wasn't. But stop, John Johnson the third. Stop. You got your money. Check's cleared. I don't want to hear it from you, bro. And by the way, it took a while before anybody placed that calling issue back in there, John Johnson. But continuing with Joe Flacco. And obviously you found a role for Harrison Bryant. And, I have been talking over the last couple of weeks. It can't just be Amari Cooper. It can't just be David Njoku. There's going to have to be other guys. Obviously, Cedric Tillman in Denver, nice job on his part. Yesterday, Elijah Moore, 12 targets, only 4 receptions. That needs to improve. There's no question about that. That absolutely 110% needs to improve. But 4 receptions, 82 yards. For those of you who aren't sure about Elijah Moore, and I am somebody that tells you Elijah Moore is a complete wide receiver, you kind of got to see that yesterday. You obviously got a glimpse of what that is. There was one, obviously, reception that was brought back by penalty. Obviously, Elijah doubled back the next play with a nice reception, the 42-yard catch. Great body control. Great, obviously, work with his butt cheek, which I never thought I would hear said on an NFL game. But you start to get the idea of what Elijah Moore can be. Now, Amari Cooper, this is going to be critical. You need Amari back, obviously, and hopefully it is this week, certainly. So Joe can just continue to get to work in with everybody. But you've got this 5-game stretch coming up. You've got, obviously, the Jacksonville Jaguars this week, the Chicago Bears, Houston Texans, and a gritty, tough team, the Houston Texans. Significant loss for them. Rookie wide receiver Tank Dell out for the year. The New York Jets, I don't even know what to tell you. I literally have no idea what to tell you. And I don't think the Jets have any answers either. And then he closed out, of course, with the Cincinnati Bengals as well. But you need to start working on this and honing this. And you can't have this quarterback by week crap anymore. That's over. You saw and the glimpses of a guy who has won it all in this league. Joe Flacco has done that. A guy who has been in many playoff runs. Joe Flacco has done that. You saw that glimpse yesterday. And as crazy as this season has been for the Cleveland Browns, starting not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 quarterbacks. When he got to the 4th one, it's probably been the second best one. No issue with DTR. I like the path he was on. And if this team was 5-7, as opposed to 7-5, I'd say roll the kid out there and let the kid go learn. This team is 7-5, was 7-3. This team should make the playoffs. You're lucky to get a guy in the building like Joe Flacco, the way the Browns did after losing Deshaun, using DTR, using PJ Walker. Deshaun comes back, then it's DTR, then it's PJ Walker. But now you've got a guy who's won a Super Bowl. It's Joe Flacco time for the next 5 weeks, and let's let the chips fall where they may. Jeff Lloyd, your latest Locked On Browns, and I appreciate every one of you for being along for the ride. If you're like me, and you're unsure what your teenage daughters might want for Christmas, I know what works in his house, and that is concert tickets. You shouldn't have to worry about where you're buying tickets to your next big event. GameTime is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. They have last-minute tickets. They have flash deals. They have zone deals. You can get views from all the seats in the venue. They've got lowest price guarantee. They have event cancellation protection. Heck, they even have job loss protection. You can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Buy tickets in seconds, 2 taps, and you are set to go. GameTime has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event, and even an hour after it starts. So if you're not interested in the opening act, well, maybe you can find a way to save a little money and sneak on in for the headliner. Find exclusive flash deals and sponsor deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. Zone deals. You pick the section, GameTime picks the seats for an average of 18% savings. And the GameTime guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, GameTime's going to credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKDOWNNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download GameTime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Jeff Lloyd, your latest Locked On Brown. Of course, I appreciate all of you who make Locked On Browns your first listen. If you are not part of the everyday crowd, I ain't going to beg you, man, but you're missing out. And you got to subscribe to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. And of course, the show is always available, always free, wherever you get your podcasts. Obviously, Coach Stefanski talked today and said, look, there are issues on the offense. There are issues on the defense. There are issues on the special teams. And you want to know what? Every single word of that is true. We can point the finger at the defense for the last couple of weeks, but we could also point the finger at the offense. Certainly could point the finger at special teams. Some punts straight into the end zone. That shouldn't have happened. Missed extra point. You know, it's really, really hard to give Dustin Hopkins a hard time for all that he's doing. But, you know, missed extra point. Granted, it didn't mean a hill of beans in the way the game ended, of course. But as the calendar is now December, and we're going to play for the next 5 Sundays, and maybe possibly even a Thursday night, the Cleveland Browns, the running game, which has been such a staple of this Cleveland Browns offense under the Kevin Stefanski regime. I mean, man, it's like a milk carton. Where is the running game? Kareem Hunt, obviously the success is there. He is getting these short yardage pickups and probably taking years off of Kareem's body with the physicality that this guy is showing. Pierre Strong, 2 carries yesterday. And look, the fumble, the reverse, Denver, I get it. But there is a juice in Pierre Strong that nobody else in that running back room has got. And yeah, he's not really good in pass pro. Yeah, he's not really good at blitz pickup. But sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. So still continue and give effort to find a way to get the ball in Pierre Strong's hands. I don't care if he's blocking. If the ball's in his hands, whatever. I don't care if it's a tell. Get the guy in the field. Jerome Ford, 1 week we go up, 1 week we go down. Jerome Ford has to find a level of consistency. This Cleveland Browns team just functions better with a running game. This defense, and look, some of it's their fault because they're getting gouged, but if we could get them off the field, maybe 10 less reps a game, that would certainly make a huge, huge difference for this defense. And, you know, Jerome, what he does in the receiving game, it's quite obvious that you put him out there as your number one back, the guy who sees the most reps. We know what he can do as a receiver. We've seen prime Jerome Ford as a runner. But these games are going to be tighter. The Browns need to play to their strengths, which is not gassing out their defense, which would be getting your defense off the field a little bit more. You've got to find a way. There is just no way around it. Coach Callahan, and this is something he's got to make an onus of it. And look, Jerron Christian, it was a yeoman-like effort for what this guy did and came in for the last month. And I'll be honest, his pass blocking was pretty dang solid. And I'll be even more honest, I think his pass blocking over the last 4 weeks is probably as good as, if not better, than we've seen Jedrick Wills be at points in Jedrick Wills' career. But Jedrick Wills, and again, seems odd to say it, and I'm sure a lot of you probably think it too, Jedrick Wills is really good in the run game. And I'm sure we'll find out on Wednesday where Jed's at, but this would be the week that Jed Wills would be designated to start to return from IR. And, you know, it's really always hard to give Jed Wills any slack, any knocks, so to speak, because this guy basically has been banged up since the day he's been here. But yet somehow, some way, like a coal miner, this guy finds a way to show up every week and punch the clock for this team. The Browns need to get this run game going. And maybe the sacrifice was protecting your quarterback and playing Christian as opposed to playing Hudson, who is the better run blocker. But the Browns, it just has to happen. And I don't care who the combination is. I don't care if it's more touches for Kareem. I don't care if it's more touches for Pierre Strong. I don't care if it becomes a Jerome Ford solo show. This running game needs to improve. Bill Callahan has to get back at it. And, you know, again, look, nobody's going to be perfect for 18 weeks in an NFL season. And nobody should be expected to be perfect for 18 weeks in an NFL season. But this run game, when the Browns kind of need it most, as now this is it, Deshaun ain't coming back, and now we're getting to this 5-week crunch. This is something the Browns can't have disappear from them. They desperately need it. They need to shorten the game. They need to be able to open up some play action, which could be even more effective with the ball location, with the velocity, with the just general arm talent that Joe Flacco has over a DTR and certainly over a PJ Walker. With the fact that you can now explore some verticality in this offense, which again, it is something, and everydayers know this is something I have talked about throughout the entire Kevin Stefanski regime. This offense gets a very, very arena league feel to it at times. Well, you got a guy that can change that. Threat of a running game is going to start creeping guys up, and it's going to make it a lot easier for Joe to go out there and show everybody what that fantastic arm has got within it. So these are all huge critical factors. It's something that you need to be better at this time of year anyway. Browns sitting at 7-5. You want to make the Jacksonville Jaguar game a game? Keep Trevor Lawrence watching. You want to beat the Bears, which should probably happen. Well, Justin Fields is kind of dangerous and can make a lot of things happen. Spectator, he ain't going to do nothing wearing a baseball hat or a woolly. Of course, Houston, you're going to go there. Obviously, that's not going to be a game where weather's a factor. But again, CJ Stroud is leading the NFL in yards passing. Rookie quarterback is leading the NFL in yards passing. You want a way to combat that? Again, spectator. The Jets, Cincinnati, hell, it could be A.J. McCarron that week. But these next 3 games, they're big, they're crucial. And the Cleveland Browns have to go back to doing something that they have always done well. Whether it was 20, whether it was 21, whether it was 22, and whether it was most of this season, even after the injury to Nick Chubb, the Cleveland Browns offensive line, you need to let these boys go be physical, and you need to get some success running the football again. That is what needs to happen. It'll make everything easier for the defense. It'll make everything easier for the offense. Get back to basics. Jeff Lloyd, we're going to close it out here. Go to segment 3, your latest Locked On Browns. Look, I know we come to sports to escape from some of the crazy realities of real life, but can we talk just for a minute about preparing for real life? According to the FDA, pharmacies are running out of antibiotics like amoxicillin. Trust me, I've been there. I had a kid try to get a script filled last week. Did not work out. Right in the middle of the worst flu season in over a decade. This is scary. It's crazy. I can't imagine a more helpless feeling than if Amory, my wife, or one of my kids got sick. Well, a supply chain issue kept them from the life-saving medication they needed. Thankfully, we'll be okay because of Jace Medical. The Jace case is a pack of 5 different antibiotics to treat a long list of bacterial illnesses, including UTIs, respiratory infections, sinusitis, skin infections, among others. This stuff could happen to any of us. Visit chasemedical.com and complete your physician encounter. It will be reviewed by a board-certified physician, and your medications will be dispensed by a licensed pharmacy at a fraction of the regular cost. It's never been more important to prepare than today. Go to jasemedical.com and use offer code LOCKEDON to get $20 off your order. Jeff Lloyd, closing out your latest Locked On Browns. I appreciate all of you who come here every day and make this your first listen. You guys are the absolute best. The crowd and the party that is the everyday party of Locked On Browns. Only ticket you need to get in is subscribe to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. Of course, the show is always available. It's always free wherever you get your podcasts. Now, we had talked last night with Pete Smith on the post-game show. And, look, Denzel Ward being out, it's a devastating blow. It truly is. Myles Garrett being injured. It's a devastating blow, even though he's out there. Yesterday, no statistical performance from Myles Garrett. But this team had a bunch of guys making plays earlier this season on the defensive side of the ball. This isn't your 2018 Browns, 2019 Browns, 2020 Browns, where Denzel Ward and Myles Garrett were pretty much your headliners. This is a deep, deep unit. Anthony Walker, yesterday, not his best day. You're starting to wonder, are the injuries maybe starting to mount on a guy like Anthony Walker? Sione Takitaki and JOK are certainly your best linebackers at this point. And the Browns have to be smart here, and they have to be probably critical and make some really difficult decisions over the next few weeks. If they don't think you can be counted upon, you might not get the opportunity to see the field. And Genu, Martin Emerson, I think they held up overall pretty well yesterday. I think some of the biggest issues yesterday was the safety play and certainly some of the coverages that were called. It's really, really difficult to call zone against Sean McVay. He's just a brilliant, brilliant play caller, and you're not going to show Matthew Stafford anything that he has not seen in the past. So, you kind of give a little credit where it's due sometimes. The other corners I thought actually played pretty well. Ford was active. Helen was active. Ideally, certainly you want Denzel back. You need more out of your edge rushers who are not named Myles Garrett. So Darius Smith, it's, look, as much as we all love the trade, applauded the trade, I thought the trade was going to be a really, really special thing. The impact has not truly been there yet. So Darius could put together a nice 5-week stretch here. That'd be integral. That'd be huge for this team. Certainly, Ogbenai on Karanko, there's certainly plays that are just wowing. But this team's got to get after the quarterback a little bit more. And it seems if it's not Myles, or at least Myles starting the party to getting after the quarterback and getting him on the ground, it seems like it's not happening. Browns didn't have a sack yesterday. You got Myles Garrett. You got Zadarius Smith, Ogbenai Okoronkwo, Dalvin Tomlinson, Maurice Hurst. They couldn't get a sack. Matthew Stafford? Matthew Stafford? He's 35. Matthew Stafford wasn't mobile when he was at Georgia. And the Browns could not get a sack on Matthew Stafford yesterday. And what happens with the coverage? Now, what were the Browns DBs saying early in the season when everything was going right? We ain't got to do much. Defensive line's taking care of it all. Anybody in the secondary, you're going to get lit if the quarterback's not getting pressured. Yes, we're in an odd spot in the NFL where we're severely lacking in quarterback talent. But each and every week, if a team has a starter and you're not getting pressure on them, eventually that quarterback's going to get you. And it certainly happened a little bit against Denver. Certainly happened yesterday against the Los Angeles Rams. Certainly with the receiving group that I said was going to be an issue. And they were. Nakua, pain in the butt. He is on that Cooper Kupp path. Kupp even out there, whatever percentage you want to put on it, maybe 75. Still a really, really difficult cover. If your name isn't Myles Garrett or Denzel Ward, you got to look yourself in the mirror here. There's got to be some stepping up here. They're not stopping to run. They're not getting after the quarterback. So they're not doing anything. The Browns need something here. And look, you're coming up. This is a crucial stretch, obviously. Final 5-week stretch. Jacksonville, Chicago, Houston, the Jets, the Bengals. Could the Browns go 4-1 down this stretch? They could. Could the Browns go 5-0 down this stretch? They could. The way they played the last 2 weeks, could they go 2-3? Could they go 1-4? Probably. This defense needs to get right. This running game needs to get right. These are things early in the season we had no questions about. So, yes, there's some injuries. Yes, there's some other factors. But Coach Jim Schwartz, Coach Bill Callahan, and these guys have been down this road before where they've looked really good and then all of a sudden somebody's got the number. So you got to adjust to the adjustment. And I think for Jim Schwartz, and I certainly think for Bill Callahan, that's going to be something that's going to have to be done. I think hopefully Jedrick Wills returning to the lineup, and we'll hear on Wednesday if that's going to be the case, would be integral and would be huge to this Cleveland Browns running game. And there's guys on defense. They got to start living up to the back of the baseball card, so to speak. 8.5 sacks, 8.5 sacks. You got to start playing like the players you are. And you can't just rely on 95 and 21. Heck, we don't even know if 21 when he's going to be back. And 95, I mean, look, we can say all the positive things we want, but we know what 100% of Myles Garrett looks like. And we know what it doesn't look like. And he's out there. He's doing everything he can. But some other guys got to step up. Some other guys got to make some plays. Joe Flacco, quarterback 1 for the next 5 weeks. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I am Jeff Lloyd. I have been your host now here at Locked On Browns for 7 seasons. I appreciate all of you who make Locked On Browns your first listen every single day. The everyday crowd just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And look, again, you want in, I want you in. Subscribe to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. And of course, Locked On Browns is always available. It's always free wherever you get your podcasts. We'll get back to you tomorrow. We're going to have Pete Smith on here. We're actually going to sneak in maybe a little bit of draft talk tomorrow. First time this year. I've been waiting. Bowl season. Pete's been waiting, so we'll sneak that in there. This has been your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound. LGB, not ELOB. Let's go, Browns.